That whole area is called Grand Staircase because the way the erosion happened is as you keep going, more and more layers of the land gets exposed.
Oh.
Like for instance, the top of Zion National Park is actually the bottom of Bryce National Park in terms of the layers, and the Grand Canyon is even lower than Zion. So yeah,
Wow.
and on this trip, as you go from starting more with Archer's Canyonlands, then you have Capitol Reef, then you have Bryce, and then Zion. These are the Utah Mighty Five.
Okay.
The uncle on the app was telling us about all of this geology, and you could actually see it. It's like, all right, now on your right, you'll see a new layer get exposed. There's something like Chinle rock formation, and then you look at it. Oh, that's right, we didn't see that where we were coming before.
Fascinating.
Yeah, forget about hikes. Like just purely from if you're a nerd who just enjoys learning cool stuff,
Yeah.
there's nothing like Utah and having this guide along with two of your closest friends in the world.
Oh my God, this is really nice. Yeah.
I mean, do you know the saying, black fight back, brown stay down, white take a flight? Like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if you have an encounter with a polar bear, there's nothing you can do.
Oh my.
The actual one true bear encounter I had was actually with grizzly.
Where? What happened?
So we were in Glacier National Park, and we were walking down a trail, and there was a grizzly, and I think it had a cub, and it was on the trail walking towards us, and we were the only three people walking down at that point. And like I said, with the grizzly, you can't really fight back or whatever. We were like shit scared, and we had no idea what to do. We had bear spray.
Momentally blind the bear kind of thing.
Yeah. So we saw this grizzly walking towards us. There was nowhere for us to go. You can't go off trail because it's just cliffs down there. All you can hope is the bear would eventually go away.
Yeah.
But it did not. And so we were just slowly backtracking and having the worst moment of our lives until there was another group that joined us.
Hi. Welcome to Misadventures of a Sneaker, and this is the first episode of 2025. A new year, and so we're bringing you a new season as well. We're at season 3 of Misadventures of a Sneaker, and like you know, our season 2, which was last year, was phenomenal in terms of destinations and experiences that we spoke about and brought to you. And I promise this year is going to be super rocking as well. So this is a start to the new year, which means health and fitness resolutions will be on top of most minds. And so, in this episode, I have someone who enjoys all sorts of outdoor activities. Trekking, mountaineering, kayaking, biking, swimming, basically anything such that he can stay active outdoors. In fact, he goes to such an extent that vacation means taking red-eye flights to a national park, exploring the place thoroughly, and taking a red-eye flight back. So when I say really active outdoors, this is really, really active. Our guest today is Harsha Dandibhatla, who officially lives in New York, but is most often found in one of the many national parks in the US. So US has about 63 national parks. And when I spoke to Harsha first a couple of months back, he was at 35 of seeing all the 63. And by the time the episode is releasing, I think he's at 38 or 39. So Harsha enjoys this. It's his hobby, which is now turned into a passion. I enjoyed listening to him talking about the many stories of the places, from grizzly bear chases to navigating trails laden with alligators to hiking through the Arctic tundras, deep caves, massive canyons. Harsha has an anecdote for almost all of them. I'm very excited to introduce you all to Harsha, this awesome storyteller. But before that, let's take a quick little break. Hey, do you know we write a travel theme newsletter every fortnight? Yup. And in each newsletter, we write about different destinations, travel experiences from around the world. Well, you can choose your next destination right from our newsletter. And added to that, we also have a service of curating travel itineraries personalized just for you. So head over to misadventuresofaSneaker.substack.com or contact us on Instagram at misadventuresofaSneaker. You will find all the links in our show notes. Let's plan your next vacation together. Alrighty, so let's jump straight into the episode and explore these incredible places with Harsha. Welcome, Harsha. I'm so happy to have you on my podcast. We are called the Misadventures of a Sneaker. And Harsha, let me start with wishing you a very happy new year.
Happy New Year to you too.
So my introduction to you, Harsha, was from this common friend that we have. And he told me, well, this is one friend I have. His name is Harsha. He's this guy who loves going to, multiple national parks in the US. I'm sure he has done more than half of it. And his videos and pictures on Instagram around all these national parks that he goes to are spectacular. And after he told me all this, I went to your Instagram page and oh my God, Harsha, really, I mean, I enjoy the pictures that you put out. I enjoy the stories that you put out, which has details about all the different hikes you do, how you do it, the different kind of terrains, and also the idea of ghumta rehta hai bar is so exciting. So hi, welcome.
Hello, Revati. Firstly, beautiful name for a podcast. Although as someone who travels and hikes a lot, I would say please use better hiking shoes than a sneaker.
I would say please let it be an adventure and not a misadventure, but then you went on to hiking shoes was a sneaker part of it.
Indeed.
Yes. And so there the introduction is right there. It's going to be a lot of hiking, a lot of better shoes than a sneaker. That's going to be our theme of what we're going to talk about. But before that, Harsha, because I don't know you that well, and several of my guests also wouldn't know you. So tell me, where are you from? What do you do? And why I ask you this is a lot of my listeners have written to me multiple times on what do your guests do? Because the kind of travel that they do, it doesn't seem that they also have a job. Like, are they content creators? Are they travel influencers? Are they like travel entrepreneurs and all of that? Nice. In most cases, they are not. So tell us what you do and how do you manage to do all this ghumta rehta hai, ghumta rehta hai, ghumta rehta hai kinds?
Sure. So I am born and raised Hyderabadi. So I grew up in Hyderabad until my +2 intermediate. Most people might know DAV Public School because
Oh,
we
yes,
have so
yes,
many
yes.
everywhere.
It came in a lot in the Bonvita quiz contests. That's why we know this name.
Yeah. So I'm part of the DAV system. And once I graduated, I went to university in Bengal, in Kharagpur, IIT Kharagpur. So like everybody else, did engineering. And when we were there, yeah, we took one-off trips here and there, but mostly it was a standard college experience.
Yeah. So just hanging around and loafing around rather.
Uh-huh.
And maximum
Exactly.
trip to Digha or something because you're in Kharagpur.
Oh, you know about Digha.
Most Kharagpurians will just head there, man. My brother's from
Yeah.
Kharagpur as well. So yeah, I know Digha.
Yeah, Digha, Shankarpur, those were the beaches. And sometimes, I think one time we went down to Orissa to Puri.
How adventurous, I say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised. Is that how you know about Digha?
I'm telling you, I'm also from Bengal. Invariably, it'll be one of these 3-4 places. Maximum, if people are too adventurous, they'll go maybe to Puri or a little to maybe Sikkim or something like that's also one of those winter things. But yeah, that's all.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so I'm a software engineer by profession. So I followed the basic path that's laid out to everybody born in Hyderabad who grew up in the 90s. I worked in Bangalore after graduating for a few years as a software engineer. And so I just applied for a job in the US, got it, and then I just moved.
Okay. So then which part of the US do you live in right now?
Currently, I live in New York City. I've been here since 2019.
Oh.
Yeah, but I didn't move straight here. I mean, I moved to the US back in 2014. It was actually to Wisconsin.
Okay.
And from there, I moved to the Silicon Valley Bay Area for a very small pit stop, and then finally made my way here. And now this is home.
Yeah, it's been a decade since you've been in, yeah.
Yeah, and also as a city, ever since I moved out of my home in Hyderabad, this is the longest I've ever lived in one place. Like even Bangalore was a 4 year journey, and Kharagpur was 5 years, but
Yeah.
New York I'm almost 6 years completing. So
No, look. Wow.
that's
Wonderful. So work for you is New York, and that's where work is and office is.
hmm yeah, this is home base.
So that's where exploring actually started for you, or rather traveling rather started for you post coming into the US, or was it even, of course, it's not IIT days that we have established already. Was it
Mhm.
Bangalore onwards, or was it after you moved to this new country?
At the level I'm doing right now after here, but there was always a little bit like even when I mean I didn't actually call it hiking back then, but even when
Mhm.
we grew up, almost every year we would go to Tirupati, and
Okay.
we would always we would go as a big family with the extended family. And so my aunt and my uncle and my cousins, we would always climb up, take the steps rather than like if you ever been to Tirupati, you know you have the buses and cars
Yeah.
and vans
Yeah.
that go up, right? And that was not for us. So all the kids, we would always love taking the steps. So I think that was the first hiking of my life was going to Tirupati by steps and looking at all the pigeons and peacocks and deer on the way.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. You know what, Harsha? Last year we did an episode on Alaska where this guest, very much like how you're talking about one of your oldest hiking trips as the ones to Tirupati, he spoke about how his earliest vacation memories were hiking up to Vaishno Devi earlier, and the entire picture of Vaishno Devi that he used to paint, and how that probably was one of the earliest, the way a vacation shapes your mind towards exploring places. So yours was Tirupati and his was Vaishno Devi. I just remember that as we were talking. So how did you continue this, fondness for hiking?
yeah, I did go on a couple of hikes when I was in Bangalore,
Mm-hmm.
especially the whole Western Ghats area is pretty nice. I went there, but it was always a case of some a friend of a friend saying, "Oh, I'm taking a group to go there for a weekend. Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
join?" Like, yeah, sure. And so I didn't know any better, just went with the crowd
Yeah.
and followed that. But my first major adventure was like between the time I was moving from India to the US.
Mm-hmm.
I took a big long sabbatical
Oh, nice.
for 6 months. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't work. I knew I was going elsewhere, and it didn't make sense to me to work
To work any
for
longer.
those 6. And so that was around the time of my very first time I ever stepped out of the Asian continent. I went on a
Mm-hmm.
Euro trip with my friend. We went
Oh.
to Iceland and hiked a bit over there, saw some northern lights. And so that was really my first time doing some sort of adventure travel.
My God, you're starting off with a bang. If you usually first Euro trip kind of thing would be like Amsterdam, or maybe beer garden. You go to the Germany places and all. Let's see the Iceland. My
Yeah,
God.
there's actually an interesting reason for that.
Mm.
This was in 2014, around
Mm-hmm.
February. And there's this thing that happens with the sun. Every 11 years, the auroras are the strongest. By the way, this is the year auroras are strongest again.
Yes.
And so that was the deal back in 2014. And my roommate, who was also a very close friend from Kharagpur, his name is Murli, he suggested we go to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. And what happened was a little while before he proposed going on this trip, there was a movie that was basically a life-changing movie for me. It's called Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful movie. For me, it was life-changing because I identified with Ben Stiller's character so much as an introvert who is trying to kind of grow out of his shell and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So that movie had a very big impact. And so I became obsessed with Iceland from that movie. And so when my friend suggested going on this, it didn't take too much convincing. Uh, so yeah, that was really my
Nice.
first time on a nature trip, looking at the waterfalls and glaciers and whatnot.
Oh, Iceland is something when I have not been there. I did an episode on Iceland and oh my God, the pictures of the place. And you said you
Mhm.
went in proper winter, so you've seen the waterfalls frozen rather than actual waterfall kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very crazy because I had never experienced cold
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
complaining about -3 in New York right now, man. Yeah. Wow. Starting with a bang with Iceland. I really can't imagine. Oh, this is phenomenal.
No, I had that 6 month break and then came back and it was time of the World Cup. I was just watching World Cup matches all the time. And then another friend
Oh,
suggested a Ladakh trip.
oh, back to back
So,
rocking ones, man. How was Ladakh?
oh, amazing. Like, yeah, my 2014 was one of the most beautiful years of my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Was this the boys biking trip kind of thing?
Yeah, but we kind of did it in a. So even when I travel, I do something called glamping.
Mm-hmm.
It's like camping with conveniences.
This was unheard of in 2014, by the way, in India, at least, huh?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So my Ladakh trip was something similar. So we had the bikes, but we also had a gypsy following us. So we were a big group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we would take turns, or we would bike for a stretch, then swap out with someone in the gypsy.
That's a very nice idea, actually. It gives your ass a break, man. Otherwise, biking on that kind of road, it's
Yeah,
not easy, genuine. I mean, you have the glam of biking as well, but you have some breaks for convenience. Good job.
yeah, and that's what we did. Okay, we went to all this Pangong Lake, Somoriri, the Khardungla Pass.
So I haven't been to Ladakh, but I've gone to Spiti on a trip like this, and I remember
Uh,
that we had gone to the Chandratal Lake, and Lake to Manali is a very short. If you see distance as per the map, it's a probably 100 kilometers. It's not that far. And they tell you that you always have to go in a convoy kind of thing, like 5 vehicles together, because invariably all of them will have a puncture. So you'll need another one to
mhm,
support and things. And then you have to go through a waterfall. They'll have to literally push you through, blah, blah, blah.
mhm.
Okay. The road was so bad. It took us an entire day for that 100-kilometer stretch.
Ah,
It was terrible, and it is terrible
design.
by desire. So the border security forces are the ones that control the roads in that area. So it is actually meant to be bad because of safety concerns. They don't want whatever the war safety concerns, not our
Yeah.
our life
Yeah.
safety concerns. So they actually want that. So we have to, even though such a short distance, we have to leave really early. And
Mhm,
I wasn't on a bike, I was in a car, and I'm telling you all this. Think of,
mhm.
biking. So I can get what you're saying when you're saying that one had to choose this path versus that path. The one who had to choose that
Yeah.
path would have been like, gone.
No, speaking of border road organization, they have the funniest copywriters in the world.
For the road signs.
Yes.
I love them.
Yes. I mean, obviously, I love the mountains and the lakes, but I love the science just as
Yeah.
much.
I once did an episode on Sikkim, and the guest there said the same thing to me, that I really should have taken a picture of every road sign I saw, and we could have done an entire like photographic series on it, like be gentle on my curves, these kind of things are there.
Exactly.
They are hilarious. They are really good, man. So next when I go to any one of these border BRO routes, I will take pictures of all the road signs. They are
Hmm.
extremely good. Yeah, yeah. It has to be preserved.
Hmm.
Okay, so 2014, after all these very exciting vacations, is when you entered the US.
Yeah,
So then tell me, how was vacationing in the US? What are your earliest vacationing memories in the US?
sure. I think I moved to the US around October or
Okay.
something. And one thing I quickly realized was how restrictive vacation policy in general is in the US, at least
Oh,
in my
really?
initial company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I work in a startup. At this moment in time, I have unlimited vacations. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing the air quotes.
So far as you finish your work, you can take enough kind of thing.
Yeah. But when I first moved here in that place, there were only like I had 10 days of vacation for the entire year. And then, as with every immigrant, you're already freaking out about, all right, how do I split that between I have to go back to India every
Yeah,
year at least because we do want to, go back home, visit at least once every year.
naturally, right? You have family, friends back there, yeah.
And so immediately panic started creeping in. But what the US does have is most of the public holidays conveniently fall on either Fridays or Mondays. So all you need to do is do some magic stretching and you can stretch a 3-day weekend to a 4-day weekend
Yeah,
without.
yeah. Very true.
And this is very important because basically my entire national park journey came about due to various things. Like some of them are my interest in nature and whatnot, and some of them are also just a matter of convenience. Like a single national park could be easily visited. You have enough time to explore, recharge, uncompress and everything in a 4-day weekend,
Yeah.
which fits in the perfect schedule without taking too much vacation. So pretty much that's how it's kind of started. I think the first one I ever visited was Grand Canyon.
Oh, wow. Again, you're starting with a bang. Wow.
Yeah, because I was living in Wisconsin. I had some friends who were living in California at that time. And then they said, "Oh, we are going to Vegas." Actually, it was not even, I didn't even know we were going to Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Oh, we are going to Vegas for a few days over Thanksgiving. If you have nothing to do, come join us." So I went to Vegas. And then I found out that we were actually driving to Grand Canyon. And I said,
Ah,
great.
nice.
So my first national park visit wasn't even planned to be a national park visit. I didn't even know it was a national park
That's
beyond, oh,
true. That's true. Actually,
yeah.
sitting here, we don't know the concept of US national parks. These are only a couple
Hmm.
of things that we heard. We hear of Grand Canyon. Like, what are the five top things that we hear of in the US? Grand Canyon, nature. One is Grand Canyon, one is Niagara Falls. But
Yosemite, Yellowstone.
for me,
Yeah.
Yosemite, Yellowstone are two that I have not done. And for me, it's like on the top, of course, and even Denali and all of it. But yeah,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
you went to Grand Canyon without knowing it's a national park, but you're visiting like the Grand Canyon. You know, I actually remember doing one of the shorter duration trails in the Grand Canyon, and the colors of the canyon that you can see are just, spectacular. The different formations there and the, play of the light and the sun and the shadows and all. A big bucket list for me those days. I mean, I actually want to go back there even now and see it more leisurely.
Exactly. And it was great.
So, which was your first planned, and when I say planned, I'm putting it in quotes. So, first planned national park visit where you planned your own hike and how do you do it, the route and the trail and all of that?
The first national park I knew I was going to a national park was something called Badlands.
Badlands. What a kick ass
Yes.
name.
Right. Uh,
How was it?
it was a very scary experience for me
Mm-hmm.
uh, because we went camping and I have a huge fear of snakes, and that was snake country,
My God.
prime snake country filled with rattlesnakes. Like again, I was still very early into my being outdoors phase of life.
I mean, I'm okay with a lion or a bear or something. Okay. I mean, I don't know if I'm okay, but in my head, I think I am. But snakes are like a no, no. I am petrified of snakes, and genuinely, I feel that snakes follow me, man. Wherever I go, and snake will be behind somewhere. I am psyched. And you're saying that you went camping in such a place. I wouldn't even probably stay in a lodge or something, man, of the fear of snakes.
Like again, this was also something. I mean, I knew we were going to a national park, but again, this was my true national park experience. I had no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
On the way, I mean, it was a road trip. We started, it was, I think, we drove all the way from Wisconsin to over there. So we I didn't even have a sleeping bag or any of that. So we stopped at a Walmart on the way.
This is like this bachelor times vacations that people go. No, just take a bag of chips and then we reach. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't even have a proper hiking bag. But I had I brought a suitcase along to go camping. So
Cute.
I had a
Mm,
suitcase and I had a sleeping bag that we picked in Walmart. Uh,
wonderful.
and I didn't sleep because it was raining. So even cricket sounds sounded like rattlesnake rattler, like and so I didn't
Okay.
sleep at all. But it was beautiful.
Mm.
During the daytime when I could see what exactly was around me in the grass, the landscape was amazing.
What kind of national park is Badlands? Like, what do you see around you?
So it is, think of it this way. Imagine sand dunes that have become more solidified,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, picture you have several sand dunes, but you no longer have loose sand, but it is something like maybe some water or whatever, it got baked and then it started getting eroded. And so that is the kind
Wow.
of landscape that, and those kinds of landscape in general are called badlands around here.
Okay.
Uh, because firstly, they're not very fertile.
Oh, so
So
literally
they're,
Badland.
yeah, that's how the name came to be.
Okay. Oh,
No, you can't grow anything in that part, so it's a
yeah.
badland. But there's a different kind of erosion also taking place, right? Because I asked you to picture sand dunes, but they were not formed by sand dunes like of our
Oh,
particles coming. This was caused by erosion. So what you actually see is several layers of different
colors.
soil.
Mm.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. So
gorgeous.
you got different clays. You might have something dark red at the bottom, and then you have some remnants of
Mm-hmm.
white limestone and some sandstone
Oh,
on top.
beautiful, beautiful. But no vegetation around there.
Just
Oh, what a
grasslands.
sight.
Yeah, there's a lot of bison over there, so the bison feed on the
Ah, okay.
grass. It's kind of like the prairie
Okay.
grass. That's what the bison
Hey,
feed
I
on.
never asked you, finally, did you see a snake or you didn't see the snake?
Oh, I definitely did on the trail. Not at camp,
Thank God
thankfully,
for big mercies.
but
Oh my. And then what? This was a
yeah, and
hike?
yeah, we did a couple of
Okay.
hikes, but nothing strenuous because mostly flat
Okay.
land on top, right? So all of the badlands, you're looking
Oh,
down into
beautiful.
them, all of this.
Beautiful. So after Grand Canyon was
Yeah.
this true, you know what I'm getting into kind of experience for you.
Yeah, yeah, this was the like
Mm.
first time, yeah. But the one that kickstarted the journey actually came immediately after
Mm-hmm.
that, the immediate one after that, which was when I went to Utah for the first time in my life to these parks called Arches and Canyonlands. Like whatever I said about Badlands, about the colors, it's great. But when you go into Utah, you are in an entirely
Blown
different
away.
planet. Utah feels like something that you would see in a movie about Mars.
Oh,
It
that
is
red
the
stone
most.
kind of structures. I've seen
Hmm.
pictures
Hmm.
of this national park, so I kind of can picture what you're saying. The arches are like this massive, like you look puny like a dot in front of it, kinds, right?
Hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the red sandstone is something else. And this was also on a Thanksgiving
Okay.
trip, so around November, which means sometimes there might be snow. And in a couple of places there was snow. So it's like, I think the aha moment was when kind of like we saw some white snow on top of red sandstone on one of the arches, and it's like, "Yeah, this is the prettiest thing in the
Oh
world."
my God. And how do you hike? Can you hike on top of the arches, or is that not allowed in this place?
It is definitely not
Okay.
allowed. But people still do. Some people still do. And maybe when I did not know better, I might have ventured on one of those. Now that I know better, I would never do that. Because the nature of these arches is, it took hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions, to form. But in 10,000 years, you might not even
Yeah,
have
it's so
those arches.
fragile.
We should be there just to observe, not contribute.
That's very
Uh,
true.
the
Oh my God. So this was the national park, and this was the trip that got you super hooked onto the idea of exploring, all the national parks in the US. Outdoorsy person to tum ho hi, but this is the one that got you super hooked to it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see more national parks. I mean, after a while, when I saw, okay, so how many have I actually been to? And then you're like, "Great, why not do
All of it.
everything?" Yeah, yeah. But it did start that love. And it also, like, you remember that I mentioned about going to Ladakh.
Yes.
So my friend, who's my best friend, who organized that trip, he and I moved to the US around the same time, different places.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to Boston. I was in Wisconsin, right? So even going to Arches was more of like, all right, everybody, we know all our colleagues are spending time with their families for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. कोई हमको भाव नहीं दे रहा है. Why not us go for a trip somewhere or something to that effect?
So is it one of those Western movie shooting location kind of places?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
I think every time you think about a true Western setting,
yeah.
it's invariably in that area around Nevada, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico.
Got it.
So
Wow. I mean, you must have seen a lot of wild animals through the many different national parks that you've been to. Thankfully, I mean, I was going to ask you which is the craziest encounter kinds or craziest moment that you had. Thank God your answer is not going to be a snake in Badlands. I was wondering whether you're going to say came in kinds. So what was it? You must have seen them, and many of them have phenomenal. Of course, bears are the most popular ones that they say you see them many places. I have seen a bear as well in one of my national park visits. So what was yours?
which one?
I
Where did you
went
see
to,
it?
I'll tell you, I went to Kings Canyon and what's the one? Sequoia and Kings Canyon. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I saw a black bear. That was, I mean, I find them, I saw it at a distance and I found them crazy cute. They say the closer they
Uh-huh.
come, the cuteness factor will reduce because of fear.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you know the saying, black fight back, brown stay down, white take a flight? Like there's nothing you can do. I mean, if you have an encounter with a polar bear, there's nothing you can do.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Nice, that's a good saying.
Yeah, black bears are the only ones where if you see a black bear, you can like, whoa, wow, like do something and try to scare it away.
Ever did that?
No, no, because the black bears I encountered were in parking lot. Like one time at Smoky Mountain, black bears are everywhere. So it's like we saw one at a parking lot and they were like, making noise and whatnot to scare it away. It was trying to get
Mm.
into someone's car, I believe. Uh, but the actual one true bear encounter I had was actually with grizzly.
Ooh. Where? What happened?
So me and my friend and his wife, we were in Glacier National Park, and we were walking down a trail from the top of a mountain, and there was a grizzly, and I think it had a cub, and it was on the trail walking towards us, and we were the only three people walking down at that point. And like I said, with the grizzly, you can't really fight back or whatever. We were like shit scared, and we had no idea what to do. We had bear spray.
And what is a bear spray?
Bear spray is a very high concentrated pepper spray, basically. So it's
Okay.
like,
You momentarily blind the bear kind of thing.
yeah, the pepper spray that you use
Hmm.
for self-defense, it's like a
Yeah.
very high concentrated form of that. And
Okay.
it's supposed to work better than having a gun because if you have a gun, it's all up to you about how you aim and if you even know how to use that. Bear spray is more like even if you can't aim, you can close your eyes and spray it up and then irritate that enough.
True.
So we saw this grizzly walking towards us. We had just come down about 2 miles from the top, right,
Hmm.
on this trail. There was nowhere for us to go. You can't go off trail because it's just cliffs down there. All you can hope is the bear would eventually go away,
Yeah. Hmm.
but it did not. And so we were just slowly backtracking and having the worst moment of our lives until there was another group that joined us. I mean,
Oh.
not we didn't know them, but there was just
Okay.
another group of people who came around, and then we figured, all right, safety in numbers, and maybe the bear got scared and went off trail, slid down the mountain. And I think after that, we were pretty tired that day because it was a very strenuous hike we did until
Mm-hmm.
that point. But I think our energy picked up because we wanted to get to the car as soon as possible.
Fear of death versus exhaustion.
So that
Wow.
did happen. But at least over there, I had company. I had my closest friends. So if you die, we die together kind of deal.
Sachina
Uh,
marna tere sang. How lovely it is.
yeah, exactly. There's romanticism in that. You know,
The thoughts that cross your mind when you feel that you're going to die now is like nuts.
exactly,
Oh God.
exactly,
Oh, this is quite
100%.
scary, man. This is quite scary. Wow.
Yeah.
So this was in Glacier. Where is Glacier National Park?
Glacier National Park is in Montana. Uh,
Mhm.
that's next to Washington State.
Washington State itself is a very beautiful state itself. So that kind of flora fauna, the Glacier National Park.
So Glacier National Park is part of the Rocky Mountains, right before it goes to Canadian Rockies, right? So most of the glaciers are basically glaciers on top of mountain peaks. So it's a very alpine environment. So on the bottom, you have some glacial lakes from the still all the melt from the glaciers up there.
Glaciers.
But as you keep going further up, eventually, like of course, there are the pine trees and fir trees that you associate with most of temperate America. But
Right.
once you go past the tree line, then you enter into the whole alpine tundra.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Arctic tundra is about the 66-degree north latitude, but
Wow. Which you would have
yeah,
gone through when you were in Alaska.
yes, yes. I got to see both alpine and Arctic tundra, and I love the tundra.
And on that note, what is the difference between the two?
Not much. It's just what caused the tundra. So
Hmm.
for people who don't know what tundra is referred to, it is if you are a hiker who hates walking too much, there's nothing better than walking on a tundra. So think of tundra like if you ever go to a children's playground,
Mm-hmm.
you know how they have the springy mats that they put all around the slides and whatnot. So you're walking, it looks solid, but you walk and there's a spring to it. Like you feel your feet sink in and up, right? And so a tundra is basically like that.
Some like marshy landish kind of thing, like a springy marshy land.
Yeah, it's not entirely much. Like your foot won't
Hmm.
just go
Go
into
in.
the mud, but there is a lot of give in the topsoil itself. So it's kind of like you're walking on a trampoline.
Oh
And
my
it is,
God.
yeah. So if you're talking about Arctic tundra, like above the Arctic Circle, very rarely
Mm-hmm.
if you get to go there. So obviously you have that already over there. But if you're talking about alpine tundra, especially if you're going on a hike up a mountain, right? And as you go from the foothills, you keep climbing up, you have the pine trees and whatnot, and eventually you go past the tree line. Now, the beautiful thing about this is above the tree line, eventually when you make the Arctic tundra, we're allowed. Obviously, some places the park will say, hey, this is fragile, so
Okay.
step out of it. Please respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But at places where you're allowed to go on the tundra, after grueling, you're usually climbing up like 3,000 feet or whatever in a day. Your feet
Ooh.
are tired and you're thinking about the walk down and whatnot. But for that small instant, you get to go on the alpine tundra and then feel like a kid, and then your knees are so grateful to be walking on that. It is the most amazing feeling for me walking on tundra.
Unique experience. I just want to walk on such a bouncy trampoline kind of
Uh,
surface. Oh, lovely. What
yeah.
causes this?
Uh, I don't know the entire science, but I think it has something to do with the permafrost. So usually
Yeah.
the water will go underground and it will cause some sort of permafrost in that it freezes along with the roots of whatever shrubbery is left, which means I think the grass is not completely dead. It's in some sort of dormant state. So that is what is giving the soft texture and feel.
Got it.
Again, if your viewers, please don't at me at this. Don't at me.
Okay, you're not a geologist or one of those, so
No,
it's
no.
fine. Wow. So which is the national park in Alaska where you also experienced the tundras?
So the one I went to in Alaska, it's called Kobuk Valley National Park.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in the US, there are two national parks which are completely above the Arctic Circle. One of them is Kobuk Valley, the other one is called Gates of the Arctic National Park.
What a beautiful name, man. Gates of the Arctic National Park. Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a bucket list one.
Mhm.
Can I go on a tangent?
Please go ahead, man. And there's nothing called tangent. It's all travel. So please.
No, because you mentioned Gates of the Arctic, how the name is so great. So the reason it's called Gates of the Arctic is because there was this explorer with the US government who was like doing surveying and whatnot. And have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
So do you know where in Lord of the Rings when they're going down the Anduin and when they eventually have to reach Gondor, there are these giant statues of Isildur and Anarion kind of like raising their hand and you pass through that, right? So there are two mountains in this park which are reminiscent of that. The mountain I think are called Boreal Mountain and Frigid Crags. And
Okay.
so they are on either side of this river called the Koikuk River. And so this guy, he saw that and then said, all right, these two mountains are the gates to
The
the
gates.
Arctic. And so that's how that name came to be. And I love that.
Grand, yeah, it's grand. It's a
I
good
love that.
story,
Yeah.
better than calling it because it's Badlands because the land is bad. This is a way better story. Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us. So you said
And
you went to the one in Alaska,
yeah, Kobuk Valley. And
Kobuk.
both of these parks are incredibly hard to get to. There are no roads that lead you there. There's no civilization within a 100-mile radius of that. The only way you can get to either of these parks is back in the backcountry in Alaska, you have these bush plains. Bush plains
Okay.
are basically like if you ever seen the cartoon Tailspin, like how Baloo drives his seaplane, he can land anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's planes of that nature, like small four-seater, five-seater planes. And so Kobuk Valley, even though it is above the Arctic Circle and whatnot, is actually a desert. It has sand dunes,
Okay.
right? And so me and my friend, we took a bush plane who actually landed us on one of the sand dunes in the morning. And then the pilot said, goodbye. I'll come back and pick you up in the evening if the weather is not bad.
And if the weather is bad, then what do I do in the meantime?
Oh, we took survival supplies. We had camping stove. We had food supplies to last us for 4 or 5 days. We have a satellite messenger. We went prepared. So it's
Oh,
like,
you went prepared. Okay,
yeah,
tell
yeah.
us, tell me more, tell me more. So what is the terrain? What do you see? How is it?
So it is. Imagine sand dunes in the middle of nowhere, right? Like something like the Thar Desert, right?
They are real sand dunes, is it? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. It's
oh,
silica sand dune. Yeah, it's
okay,
silica sand.
okay.
Yes.
For me, I mean, all of Alaska is just either green nature or white snow. That's it. Or
Yeah,
glaciers.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely because again, not all sand is brown because there is a national
Hmm.
park which is explicitly called White Sands National Park. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Okay.
yeah, but
Hmm.
this is brown silica sand. It was caused because of glaciers melting. It's a remnant of the ice age. When the glaciers receded during the ice age, they left behind all the sediment, which formed this, right? So
Mhm.
you got all of these sand dunes. You have not a human being around for hundreds of miles, but in the far distance, you can also see these mountain ranges. I think Alaska has this mountain ranges called the Brooks Mountains.
Okay.
These Brooks Mountains are what are primarily present in Gates of the Arctic. They are not there in Kobuk Valley, but you can see that.
Mhm.
But also among all this desert, the reason it's called Kobuk Valley is because the Kobuk River flows through it. And pretty much everywhere along the banks of the Kobuk River, it is the one place where there's a lot of vegetation. And that vegetation is what attracts a lot of caribou. So there's a caribou migration that happens every year over there. Caribou is basically an American name for reindeer. So reindeer
I
is a
was going to ask you, is it
European.
a bird or is it an
Yeah,
animal?
yeah. So reindeer
Okay.
is what the Europeans call it. Americans call it caribou.
TIL for me today.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any caribou, but I did see some caribou from when I was flying. So
Okay.
because we took the plane, so on the way there, we saw caribou and some moose uh,
Hmm.
on the way there from up in the air. But during the day me and my friends spent in the park, we didn't see any caribou. But this caribou also attracts a lot of bear. Alaska is bear country,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So we did see a lot of bear tracks and caribou tracks.
Mm.
And so pretty much for the entire day, as we were exploring, we walk, we see the footprints, take a picture, and then, all right, let's go the other
Yeah, man.
way.
You just two human beings in the middle of nowhere and one bear will come gone.
Exactly.
That in the evening when the pilot reaches, you guys will not be there. He'll say, okay, fine, bye bye, and he'll go back. That's all.
Exactly. And here's the most important part. There's no place to take shelter. It's like the sand dunes is just wide open land, right? So there is
Ah.
not really any uh, like a cave you can go into or whatever. It's just so you got the river valley and the vegetation around that, and then just sand. So it is the most bizarre place where yeah, you can't really.
It's beautiful.
Uh,
The aerial view of this must have been mesmerizing.
Uh-huh. It's also like we went there in mid-September.
I was going to ask which season.
Yeah, and usually like everywhere, at least in the continental United States, the continuous United States, usually autumn starts around October,
Correct.
right? But because this is Alaska, about the Arctic Circle, autumn started early there. So, and I'm a huge fan of autumn because the trees here change color, and
Mhm.
so you got the sand dunes, you got the river, and then contrasting with the sand dunes are all these colorful trees, which are changing color, and so
Magical, man. Harsha, are you a photographer?
um, I point and shoot. So I.
Please send across a bunch of these pictures, man. You're painting a
Mhm.
gorgeous, vivid picture, but seeing it also would be like mind blowing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and definitely. I mean, I definitely take lots of pictures. Again, but all my pictures are taken on a mobile phone. But
That's really okay, man. I don't need
yeah,
them to be pro quality. They just need, I need to see how this looks. I mean, you're having a river flowing and a small part of vegetation between and just sand dunes on either side. My God,
uh-huh.
crazy. And you got a chance to see it aerially as well, which is, I mean, otherwise people would take drone shots and things like that, but you had your bush plane to do that for you.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do drone shots. You're not allowed to take a drone in national park; it's forbidden.
Acha, any national park, is it? It's one of
Yeah,
those rules. Oh,
yeah, and I think some drones actually geo-lock them. So it's like if you have one of your fancy DJI drones or whatever, be very careful because once you cross over to the boundary, there have been rumors or stories of how it will just stop working and it will just crash and you lose it
gone.
forever. It's like, yeah, they won't even work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but all of these pictures, they're on my Instagram.
Oh,
Here's a plug.
I will link your Instagram profile for when I do this. And we'll also put
Yeah,
together a bunch of these pictures to show people when you're narrating a
yeah.
story. Beautiful. So, what was your packing gear like when you went to this one in Alaska?
I mean, if you are worried about being trapped everywhere, right? Like, I think, okay, let's go in the list of what are absolutely essential, right?
Yeah.
The first and foremost, most essential thing you should ever have is a water filter, right?
Okay.
I take my water filter even on day hikes, even around New York, always with a water filter because you can't just drink any water.
Right.
And it's one of the most convenient things as well, especially now that most of the water filters we have right now are so very portable, they weigh next to nothing.
Brilliant tip. Brilliant tip.
And obviously, this was Alaska, so like I went nowhere without bear spray. So I
I
always
was
had
going
bear
to ask, and
spray.
second has to be bear spray.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Can't go anywhere without bear spray. And obviously, you have your sleep system, tent, pad, uh, sleeping bag. I don't use sleeping bags. I like quilts. So
Mm-hmm.
these are absolute essentials. And food, lots and lots of food. We carried basically dehydrated food
Mm-hmm.
that could last us for at least 8 meals each.
Okay. Such kind of place. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So this is also the same thing you would take on a backpacking trips for the most part, right? So we went, I mean, even though we were like trying to explore that for just a day, we went like we were backpacking for 4 or 5 days. So these are the same things you would pack on a backpacking trip as well. which is lots and lots of dehydrated food. You usually have a camping stove, like Jetboil is the most popular brand. Once again, I actually carry my camping stove even on day hikes because one of the things I really love to do is when I reach the top of a mountain on a day hike as well, I sit there and brew some chai. I have this.
Oh. I was going to think that is it going to be Maggie or is it going to be chai? One of the two I was wondering which I'm going to choose.
Yeah, instant chai packets are always.
It's a perfect, like the mahal that is an atmosphere to create hota hai. That kind is a perfect
Uh,
thing.
Pakoras will be too heavy.
So you can't take
And
a
they would
dehydrated version either.
no, yeah, no, yeah. It's like I don't like soggy pakoras. I don't like
Yeah.
probably carry pakoras on my hikes as well, but chai for sure. Chai biscuit.
Perfect, perfect. Right, how portable are these stuffs that you are saying, the ones that you take them on a hike? They're really small?
The camping stuff.
Yeah, the
You
camping
know
stuff.
what? Give me a minute. I'll actually show you. So I actually have two different kinds of things. This is my heavy one. This is my lighter one.
They're really small. This is like the size of a mug, man. The coffee mug is that size. Wow.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, I asked Harsha about the camping stuff that he uses. And within 30 seconds, he's brought it in front of him. This is how handy you keep all your hiking things, is it? It's like yesterday when I
Yeah.
asked you how many national parks have you visited. Within 5 seconds, you have sent me a list of 37. I'm like, how handy do you keep your list, man? It's like it's just there.
Yeah. I mean, if it is packed and ready to go, it's easier. So this is my heavy version,
And how heavy is heavy?
50 grams maybe.
50 grams? I'm impressed, man. This is really cool.
But this is like 10, 15 grams.
How quickly can this heat your food, man? How long will this take to boil water?
This is 700 milliliters, so it can
Hmm.
boil in about 2, 3 minutes.
That's very, very handy.
Yeah. So this, you see how small this stuff
Yes,
is?
I
Smaller than
know.
my finger.
Smaller than a little finger also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the one I'm going to start using with the gas canister in the future
I love
because
it.
I don't like the heavy one much. It's taking up too much space. But this one is like so tiny.
This is really, and this is really the size of a coffee mug.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Oh my God, I'm very impressed. Nowadays, with Decathlon and brands like that in India,
Mhm.
you do get
Mhm.
decent, hiking, all these paraphernalia that you have. You get them here in India as well. Also, you really don't get spaces to go and do camping in this kinds. You do, but not that convenient. But this is phenomenal.
Actually, know for a fact that you can get this in India, this one. So this is a BRS stove, which comes from China. And the reason I know this is because I follow a few Indian hiking YouTube channels. This is a guy who does solo hiking.
Mm-hmm.
He did a recent trip in Himalayas, and then he had a gear list of Amazon links.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he didn't have this stove in particular, but again, he did have a isopropane stove, just like
The heavier one that you show.
yeah, no, yeah. And with this
Mm.
gas canister, he was using this, and I was actually very surprised because obviously I never hiked much in India, and
Right.
so I didn't know if this sort of things you could actually get. And the thing that blew my mind was this is a Jetboil canister,
Okay.
right? Butane canister. There's others as well. So in the US, you can't get this shipped to your home or whatever. You have to buy it in a store because they won't
Safety
ship you.
concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, but on Amazon India, you could actually ship this gas things straight to your home if you want. And so I found that like so much more convenient in India than it's here in the US as well.
Yeah, the safety standards are very different over here, also over there.
But also
Convenience. That's great.
they're going to deliver to you. Yeah, yeah.
Very interesting. I like this. I will definitely look this out when I just go out of curiosity.
So what you're looking for is basically a propane or isobutane gas canister and stuff.
Perfect. I'll check it out. Oh, so that's most of your packing gear.
Yeah, yeah, like this one goes with me even on day hikes. Even if
Yeah.
I'm going on a very small 4 hour day hike, doesn't matter. I need to have my chai on top.
So I was going to ask, so what is your guilty snack that you carry along with you? Is it a chai dip?
Uh, so I I mean, guilty for a reason because
Mhm.
most of my family is vegetarian. I'm not, but I always have meat jerky on me.
It's a different kind of guilt.
Yeah, it's a different kind of guilt altogether. But I do like papad, dried mango.
There you come, the Hyderabadi comes out from in you. The Aam Papad in Hyderabad is just legendary, man. I love it. I've always got it from there.
Yeah, Telugu we call it Mamadi Tandra. Obviously, I can't get that much here, so I just make do with Trader Joe calls it mango jerky.
Oh God. And that's a nice thing to carry as well. It's very compact, just layers you can peel off and have one by one.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if I ever go to an Indian grocery store run and I have some of that stocked up, great. Otherwise, make do with mango jerky.
Yeah. Hey, tell me, Harsha, the way you're talking about all these national parks, it seems like a scene in the movies. Have you ever done fishing in those camping trips and then barbecued that fish for a meal, etc.? Not
No,
total
no, no, no.
Hollywood, Bollywood style.
No, never. I don't know. I fishing feels very relaxing to me, and for some weird reason, I don't do anything relaxing on my holidays.
You don't do anything relaxing on your holidays, really?
No, no, I'm always constantly driving and trying to pack as much as I can
Which I saw from
into.
your notes, because in that you said I always try and take red eye flights that I reach. I can reach quickly and come back as late as I can, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, so if I have a 4-day weekend, let's say it goes from Friday to Monday. So I'm usually taking a red-eye flight on Thursday night to the nearest airport. So Friday morning, I land, I sleep on the plane, and then start my trip driving around. And then Monday night, I would take a red-eye back. So that Tuesday morning, I would land and straight to work.
Wow, very nice.
So,
So 100% ROI you are taking out from all your vacations.
yes, exactly.
Wonderful. So in all of these national parks that you've been to,
hmm
if there was one which you would think is going to be my dream home if I go and ever live there or have a little house there or something like that, which one would you choose? Like you've done what, 37 or 38 of the
37 so far, yeah.
37? Okay.
Yeah.
Which one would you think is a place that I would love to live in?
Yosemite probably.
Oh, really? Tell me
Yeah,
more, tell me
yeah,
more. It's one of my dreams to come there, man.
Yosemite is very kind of well. First, obviously, there's a lot of great beauty, but so it was not the first national park to be made. That was Yellowstone. Yellowstone was the first national park ever, but it is definitely the national park that influenced everything else the most.
Okay.
And there's a story about this guy, John Muir. You must have heard of John
Yes,
Muir.
yes, yes, yes.
There's a trail named after him, there's a forest named after him, everything. And he was one of the foremost naturalists and conservationists of the past.
There's a John Muir even in
On,
California somewhere, right? A trail or something, right?
exactly. Yes, it's called a JMT. Kind of like parallel with the Pacific Trapecity, the Pacific Crest Trail and JMT.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes intertwined, sometimes not. I mean, the reason I bring him up is because the whole national parks thing went into overdrive when John Muir went into Yosemite around that area, the High Sierras, that's what he called them. So basically, these are all part of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and the high peaks are called the High Sierras.
Okay.
There's a brand called High Sierra who does other auto brand as well. But if you ever once saw that name, it's available in India as well. It's a product from High Sierra.
Oh.
Backpacks and outdoor gear. But that's where the High Sierras come from. And when John Muir actually came to Yosemite and the High Sierras, he completely fell in love. And he lived there for very many years. He built a home there. I think he started a club called the Sierra Club.
Okay.
And who are big conservationists. And what he ended up doing was, I think, Teddy Roosevelt or some president like that, he invited him over and actually took him camping and backpacking in Yosemite Valley. And then, you see how great this is? Should we do something to preserve things like this?
Nice, nice.
And then he convinced Roosevelt, and then Yosemite was made into a national park, and then now he had a really good friendship with the president. He went about and everywhere he traveled and found things that really moved him and kind of wanted to preserve. He was like, "Hey, Teddy, let's make this a national park." Like I was over this year, a couple of months ago, I mean, in November, I was in Petrified Forest National Park. That's in Arizona. That's the same story. John Muir went there to live for a couple of months, and he saw all these trees that had turned into stone, and thought, okay, this needs to be preserved. And he turned that into a national park because he had a direct contact with the president. So that kind of stuff. But all of that came from Yosemite, from John Muir and his time in Yosemite.
It's almost like one of those OG national parks kinds.
Yeah, yeah, and pretty much everything, like all of this 63 national parks, I think half of them owe their existence thanks to John Muir. And yeah, there's a romantic aspect like, hey, John Muir lived there, maybe I should live there kind of thing. It's like following his footsteps kind
Why
of deal.
not? It is a very cool person to follow footsteps of,
Yeah,
man. A lover of
yeah,
nature, exploring so many places, actually discovering many of the places as well. Many of these places would not have been, maybe eventually, yes, but at that point, found,
yeah.
discovered, explored all of that.
Kind of a rediscovery, yeah, because it was a discovery to the European Americans, but you obviously had all the other tribes who've been living there for
That is
centuries,
true. That is true. That
right?
is true. Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
this petrified whatever national park also, again, a crazy good name, man. And then
Mm-hmm.
again, I went through some of the pictures of this place and saw how it's so different from other national parks where you have trees that
Mm-hmm.
have actually like what have fossilized and become stones and
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
I have to ask you about Yosemite, Yellowstone, and Petrified now. Okay, so I'm not talking Petrified. We have to go back to Yosemite, but Petrified first.
It's obviously very pretty. I mean, that's there were various funny things that I saw because the trees, when they turn into rock, they grow heavy, right? So it's like if you've seen some of the pictures, you'll see
Yes.
that it's like a sushi roll. No one chopped it that way. Just that's how slowly, as the organic matter in the rock got replaced with the minerals and whatnot, it turned into stone. It just grew heavy to a point where the structure say, "I give up," and then it just collapsed into like a sushi roll with all those cuts by itself.
I like this comparison with sushi rolls, man. It's a very nice way of you're painting it much better than I actually thought of it. Very cool. Hey, you have dinosaur fossils and all that, no?
Yeah, yeah, there are some dinosaur fossils around there. I mean, it's old. All of the stuff is very old, so it's on a very high elevation as well. So it was from a time when all of this happened on a much smaller elevation, and then the tectonic plate just pushed the center plateau up. And so they're like petrified forest, it actually sits top of a big plateau. So it's like there is, I think, some sort of river and sea like fossils, and you think, what is it doing here in the middle of nowhere? And then you realize, oh,
Fascinating.
geology did its thing.
Geology it is.
Over.
Yeah, this is supposed to be once upon a time a really thick forest with a stream
Yeah,
flowing in between and all of it. And
yeah.
then the what you see now, it's a stark comparison to it, like absolute other end of the spectrum.
Uh-huh.
Oh my.
But it's not some place you go for hiking as such. Like, and again, that's the beauty of national parks. It's like obviously people see patterns in how most national parks are, but they can be anything. They don't exist to just give you great hiking trails. That's not the purpose, right? Like
Mhm.
they are there for preservation of something really important and making that important thing easily accessible for humans and people, right? To be able to enjoy all of that. So in this case, it's like, yeah, nowhere else in the world can you find such a high concentration of wood that has turned into rock. So you make it a national park. In some other places, okay, this mountain range, we need to preserve it so that miners don't go and blast it to smithereens. And so now
Yeah.
they preserve that national park, and people go, okay, it's a mountain, so we go hike. So what I'm trying to say is not every national park is hiking or hiking heavier or whatever.
It can be a walk, it can be a flat land, just like a
Yeah.
recreational thing where you can just go and And
Yeah.
of course, enjoy the nature, enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah. Primary purpose is to preserve that so that future
Hmm.
generations can also look at it and enjoy it.
Very cool, man. Very, very cool. Okay. Now I'm not going to forget Yosemite, and that's one of the places where you'd like to go and live. Tell me
Hmm.
more about Yosemite. Yosemite and Yellowstone are like the two very, very popular ones. Of course,
Yeah.
after Grand Canyon, I think.
Yeah. So one of my biggest, most greatest memories about Yosemite is this past July, I went to Yosemite for I think my second time. But
Mm-hmm.
this time, I actually completed what was my bucket list hike for a long, long time. So, have you
Mm-hmm.
heard of Half Dome hike in Yosemite?
No, tell me more.
So, in Yosemite, there is this structure like, uh, have you ever seen the outdoor brand called North Face?
Yes, it is the most sturdy outdoor wear brand kind is what is popularly felt
Yeah,
so.
but you know the logo of North Face,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
It looks like half of a dome,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's inspired by this thing, which is the most famous feature of Yosemite National Park is the half dome. And
Okay.
it's a very brutal hike. It's one of the most strenuous and dangerous hikes, at least in America.
Wow.
It's about 16 miles and about 5,000 feet of elevation gain in a day. I mean, those numbers alone don't mean anything beyond. But the thing is, the last part of this hike to actually reach the top of the half dome has this rope section at a very high gradient. And so if you have fear of height, it's your worst nightmare. And
And you're
it's
pulling
kind
yourself up on that almost vertical face.
at the last,
Oh,
and that I wanted to do that for my birthday this last year.
okay.
I did it 2 days before my birthday, so bummer. I didn't get a permit for my birthday, but I got it 2 days.
Nice.
But yeah,
Fabulous. And what is the view that you get when you finish this hike? Trek, actually. It's not even a hike. It's a proper mountaineering thing.
I mean, I did it on a single day, so I can call it a day hike for me. Usually people try to split it. I was stupid
Okay.
not to do that. The view is obviously one of the most beautiful ones of the Yosemite Valley itself. But in this scenario, it's not so much the views on top, even though as mind-blowing as they are, but all the beauty in this hike is in the journey itself, because every step of the way, you're passing through some of the most beautiful and famous waterfalls. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's called the Mist Trail. That is one of the most visited trails in Yosemite, the Mist Trail.
Mm-hmm.
So Half Dome is kind of like you take the Mist Trail to an extent and then you go beyond after the Mist Trail. It's called Mist Trail because there are two huge waterfalls which create the big spray. It's gorgeous.
Wow. And the gorgeous part of this hike is the view in between, but it's also that, I did it. Like you've done a
Oh yeah,
tough trek in a day, man. So that's a huge thing.
yeah, yeah.
Phenomenal good, feeling for yourself.
Yeah, I'm very proud of myself for that. I'm usually not, I usually don't say things like that, but that one I'm very proud of myself
Oh, so how are
for
you going to
being.
up it this year, man? What is going to be July this year's? You have to up it.
I'm going to Yellowstone for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Chalo.
it's
You
been.
are kind of upping it. So good job.
It's not about upping anything. I mean, the pinnacle would be when I go on a backpacking trip in Gates of the Arctic. That would be like my top bucket list national park moment. Because it's just so hard to get to, and the experience
Wow.
is unlike anything else. But
When that happens, we'll talk again.
yeah, one day. Yeah,
One day, definitely.
one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Yosemite is the one where there are these magical photographs of the waterfall where it turns golden, right?
Yeah, it's called the Firefall.
Ah,
Yeah, they have
firefall.
that.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
Did you get to see that?
No, I
Ah.
mean, I didn't get a chance in either of the times I went there. But funny thing is, there used to be I think on top of that waterfall, there used to be a restaurant lodge kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they would actually stage that by throwing embers and fire back in the day. I mean, right now the firefall, is the one caused by the sun's gleam, right? And but it actually used to be actual fire embers, and then eventually the national park service said, "Yeah, no, you can't do that." And it's also like it's weird because first it's California,
Yes, the
as you must
LA.
have heard
Yeah, yeah.
from the last.
It's horrid, man.
Yeah, LA is Southern California, but even when I lived in the Bay Area, even Northern California used to be on fire. So wildfires are very frequent. So it's like I don't even know how they let that in to get away with that firefall.
I just think preservation in quotes hadn't started yet. So people were taking their, their liberties to do whatever for the sake of tourism.
Yeah.
But thank God, better
Yeah.
sense prevailed.
Yeah, that was a stupid stunt. But beautiful, beautiful, but stupid.
Beautiful. That's for tourism, absolutely beautiful. Yes, absolutely. So, which other national park experiences that you've had would come close to your Yosemites? Mind-blowing experience. Not necessarily a hike. It is just can just be an overall, like you had the best time with your friend over there, having chai. Even that can be like one of the happiest memories.
Um, so in 2023 December, towards the end of the year, we did the Mighty Five. So with my best friend and his wife, so we did all five national parks that are in Utah in one go, and it was the most fun I had in a long, long time for several reasons. So one is, uh, so again, me and my friend, we are from the same place in IIT Kharagpur, and even his wife is from IIT Kharagpur, and I did lots of trips with them prior to that, but we would go to like one spot. So this was our first road trip experience with all of us together, and we had a complete blast because firstly, we are all nerds. All of us were nerds. And then whenever we go to national parks, at least now, and this kind of like I learned from them on this trip, is there's an app called Guide Along. And Guide Along is this app where it's like there's this very funny uncle who acts as a guide,
Okay.
and then he has this recorded tours for all these national parks.
Okay.
So
Okay.
every time you hit a GPS marker on your road, he comes up, turns down the volume of whatever music you're playing, and then he starts talking about geology, history, anthropology of whatever you're saying. Like he'll say, "Oh,
Okay.
here there are some petroglyphs," and then he'll say some funny story about what the pictures are, or like he'll talk about even in the case of Yosemite. The story I learned from that uncle, where in Yosemite, when we talk about Half Dome, he told me a story about how Half Dome was actually a woman, and I think her name was Tisiak, according to a
Okay.
local Native American
Like a folklore
tale.
or something.
Yeah. Her name was Tisiak, and she had her husband, I forget his name, Toki or something like that.
Okay.
They were having an argument, and then Tisiak went and drank the entire lake, and then her husband got angry and started hitting her, and she got angry and threw her basket of acorns at him.
Okay.
And then a great spirit sergeant topped this, and then turned Tisiak into Half Dome, her husband into North Dome, and the basket became something called Basket Dome. Like, it sounds like a very fun story, but this story was told by that guy along uncle, and he was telling us stories like this all throughout our Utah trip.
That's nice. It's nice.
And it's also like obviously the company, right? We were just talking random stuff, and because we are nerds of a similar type, our interests are similar, and so it was like we were just yapping, blah 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 blah.
Bucker and bucker and blah and blah.
Too much
Fab.
bucker, learning too much, and seeing too much beautiful stuff. And there is also like a structure to the five national parks, right? So that whole area is called Grand Staircase because the way the erosion happened is as you
Okay.
keep going, more and more layers of the land gets exposed. So different rock formations. Like for instance, there's something like the top of Zion National Park is actually the bottom of Bryce National Park in terms of the layers, and the Grand Canyon is even lower than Zion. So yeah,
Wow.
and on this trip, as you go from starting Moab with Arches, Canyonlands, then you have Capitol Reef, then you have Bryce, and then Zen. These are the Utah Mighty Five.
Okay.
The uncle on the app was telling us about all of this geology, and you could actually see it. It's like, all right, now on your right, you'll see a new layer get exposed.
You're going a layer and layer and layer towards the center of the earth.
Something like Chinle rock formation, and then you look at it. Oh, that's right. We didn't see that when we were coming before.
Fascinating.
Yeah, forget about hikes. Like just purely from if you're a nerd who just enjoys learning cool stuff,
Yeah.
there's nothing like Utah and having this guide along with two of your closest friends in the world, and then yapping, and then
Oh my God, this is
yeah,
really nice. Yeah. No, this is, I mean,
yeah,
I don't even think you need to be a crazy nerd for this. Just observing something like this with someone narrating stories on the side. It's,
yeah,
yeah.
learning stories about the people who live there, like the Paiute people or whatever, and you start learning about.
Tell me a story or two that was narrated.
Um, honestly, from all the stories he ever narrated, the one about Yosemite and Half Dome is my favorite. But I think he,
Bizarre,
by
that is
far,
bizarre.
yeah. But I think he also told a story about how so Bryce Canyon is made up of all of these things called hoodoos,
Okay.
totem pole-like structures. Like some people might recognize them as, in Turkey also they have something similar in this place where they have the air balloons.
Cappadocia. Okay, okay. Yeah,
Cappadocia.
yeah, yeah. So it's massive pillars, but very rugged structures
Yeah.
jutting out of the land, going up. Like, huge stalagmites, stone-like.
Yeah, it's kind of like a stalagmite, yeah, like those poles, yeah. Those are called hoodoos.
Okay, hoodoos. Is it an English word?
Kind of. I think hoodoo
Okay.
came from a similar place as voodoo. It had something similar origin, similar shares root word because people thought
Like
they were
black
magical.
magic voodoo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I like all this mysterious nonsense.
Yeah, because people thought, what the hell are these? These are supernatural. This can't be come naturally because those pillars and poles are like unlike anything you are used to, right? See,
This is something that even I read about Bryce Cannon where there is the folktale that there was some trickster who turned someone into stone and
yeah, it was exactly the
oh.
jackal. And then he did mention, I was saying the story, like, yeah, those are humans and kind of like jackal turn them kind of thing. Go there at night, and then the moonlight will show faces, and then it's like, oh, did it really? And then I think at one of my visits to Bryce, I looked at it at the moonlight, and yeah, there were shadows playing, and it kind of looked creepy. It does look creepy in the
I
shadow.
love it.
Yeah.
These are the things that you'll remember. You went at night and you saw the creepy shadows and
Mhm.
oh, I love
It's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I love such kind of experiences, man. So, for example, in Cappadocia and Turkey, you actually have caves where you can actually go. People live in those caves, in those pillars. Do you have those kind of structures also in these? I mean, for
I
example, in
mean,
Bryce Canyon or anywhere else, where you can actually go inside a cave in one of those structures.
I mean, there are a lot of caves and
Oh,
even cliff dwellings. I mean, you see my sweatshirt I'm wearing right now? It says Mesa Verde.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I can actually see the cave kind of
yeah,
things
yeah,
below as well.
yeah. That's actually cliff dwelling. So it's basically what they did is, I think it was a Pueblo people. I think they constructed this kind of a cliff dwelling and had a whole society there, and that's part of this national park.
Oh,
And we can visit that with a Ranger Lake tour if you're ever in Mesa Verde. But yeah, there are plenty of things where people used to do that. Like I was recently in Arizona over Thanksgiving, and near Sedona. Sedona is a very famous touristy place with for nature lovers. It's like Disneyland for outdoor lovers. That's how I would say Sedona.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, and there was this other national monument I went to see that was really gorgeous, which was similar. I think it was called Montezuma Castle. It was also like in these caves and whatnot, ancient societies, they actually kind of created a whole civilization, a colony where to stay in, board into the sheer mountain cliff face and all of that. Yeah, you couldn't actually see them.
Crazy. Wow. So tell me now, so many national parks, right? You've gone to
Mhm.
ones which are rock formations. Like we've got many, which all your canyons and all those kind of different stone
Mhm.
structures and all. You've gone to ones which have beautiful trees and nature and all that. We haven't even spoken about Acadia National Park in Maine and
Mhm.
many of those. Then of course waterfalls in them, sand dune national parks,
Mhm.
which are very unique, different kind of experiences. What is
Mhm.
another very unique, any other national park in the US?
Uh, a different kind of experience.
Yes.
Plenty, some good, some bad.
Tell me a
Uh,
couple.
I'll get the worst thing out of the way.
Yes.
And again, this is no shade on the park itself, but
Mm,
just the kind of person I am.
mm.
I don't think I will ever visit Everglades National Park again in my life because I already told you about my big fear of reptiles.
I was making a symbol of a snake in my
Yeah.
hand as you're talking.
Yeah. And this place is teeming with reptiles, snakes, alligators, whatnot. Everglades has this one very famous loop. It's called the Shark Valley Loop. You can either
Okay.
walk on it or ride a bike on it.
Okay.
And I did that loop. I think I biked, and good thing I was on a bike. I would have been rid of a heart attack if I walked. The alligators are just on the road everywhere, just casually in the heat. They're just chilling in the heat and
Sunbathing.
sunbathing, and they're on the road where you are. And I was, I've never been more scared of anything
The
else in
eyes
my
are
life.
popping out as we are talking, man. What is this? How is this? Okay, like
Yeah, I would.
you can come out either dead or without a limb or whatever.
Yeah, but people say, yeah, they're used to humans. You should be all right and whatnot. But
I am not used to an alligator. They can be used to me.
no, they are
No.
used to humans. We are not used to alligators, but the gators are used to humans.
Oh
It's
my
supposed to
God.
be safe, but I don't know. It was,
Oh, okay. Okay. No, no for
it was,
me.
I was, yeah, I would never visit that again because I'm so scared. Again,
Yeah.
the park is great, but it's not for me.
Where is this
Uh,
located?
In Florida.
Florida.
Florida, yeah,
Wow. Okay. Okay. So
yeah.
the worst is out now. So the reptiles and the snake ones. Hmm.
Reptile, yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, but and one of the most fun things, I mean, I grew up in Hyderabad. You know how hot Hyderabad is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't like very hot climates, and I have a new love for snow. And
Mm-hmm.
every time there is cool weather and snow, I'm very happy. So one of the very fun experiences is in a park called Crater Lake National Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Oregon in the US. So it's basically a lake in the middle of a now dormant or extinct volcanic crater, and it's one of the deepest lakes in the world, and it's always gets snowed in pretty much all the time. And so me and my friends, we took a snowmobile, and then we took the snowmobile all the way to the rim of the crater, and it was one of the most fun experiences I have ever had. We had a whole lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my God. I was thinking of asking you sometime about what are the different modes of exploring national parks have you really tried out? You have mentioned hiking,
Uh,
walking, trekking, mountaineering, now snowmobiling as well. Ever
uh-huh.
tried kayaking, swimming, all the water kind of exploring by boats, etc.?
Uh-huh. I mean, if you actually see the list I sent you,
Mm-hmm.
what's on top?
What is on top?
It's North Cascades.
And it's on top because it's your favorite. Yeah, North Cascades. Yeah. Is it your favorite also first that you went to?
It's my favorite. Yeah.
Oh, tell me more.
And over there, all I did was kayak.
Oh, I'm a big water person. Okay. So anything that is water driven, I'll be like extra excited. So tell me more.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a very fun and unique experience for me. So North Cascades has all of these lakes, which are
Okay.
kind of formed by glacier melts, right?
Okay. Okay.
And then when the glacier melts, it brings with it all of these minerals, right?
Right.
And then if it starts condensing into the same pool without an escape, will start getting concentrated. It's called glacial flower is what they call it. And it gives it one of the prettiest colors you can imagine. So, for anybody listening, I would urge you to Google search something called Diablo Lake in North Cascade.
Okay. Diablo Lake.
Yeah, and you'll see how pretty that is. And then when I was in North Cascade National Park, just two of us on that lake for a huge part of the day, like the most beautiful color water, and we are just kayaking in it.
Oh my, I'm Googling as you're speaking. It's so
Right?
beautiful.
How
How
pretty is that,
pretty.
right?
It's a green, it's a blue, it's a whatever. I can't tell the color, but it's
Uh-huh.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can kayak on that the entire day.
I kayaked on that the entire day. And then the next day went to another lake over there. It's called Ross Lake. And this one's a 21-mile lake, right? Very long. I mean, obviously I didn't do the entire thing.
Right.
This lake is a little different from that. It's not as colorful, but this one is like you can just see it cutting through mountains. And you have these little islands where you can just you're kayaking, you take a break at an island, explore that a bit, have food, now go to another island if you
Oh,
want.
perfect. What a day.
And we were the only two people on this entire 21-mile lake the entire day. Maybe we saw very late in the day someone on a motorboat jet past us, but for the rest of the day, it's like just two people on this
Oh,
entire damn
I'm
lake. It was
really
like
jealous.
so amazing.
Can you jump off and swim?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you just fall off the kayak and into the lake. What are you going to do?
That's true. That's true. Sometimes you need to take a break as well, man. Kayaking is quite
Yeah,
back-breaking itself.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if
Oh,
you're on a mission to get somewhere, but if you're just
mm,
chilling, like you would just, all right, paddle down, and then you're just like, okay, current, take
yeah.
me where you will.
Oh, this sounds
Yeah.
such a nice vacation, man. It's got your active feel and chill feel, and then you get off
Hmm.
and take a break and walk a little bit, and oh my God. Oh, national parks are just so magical, man. Of now I can
Yeah,
totally get why you're so borderline
yeah,
obsessed with seeing every of them, not
yeah,
once but multiple times.
yeah. I mean, so I'm a social introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how I kind of like I love people, but people drain my battery, and this is how I regain my batteries by being away from said people. So
You need your break so as to recharge.
yeah. But I couldn't live in there all the time. I mean, that's why they are such good escapes, right? Like because you asked me about like where would you live, and then I
Right.
just answered, oh, because John Muir did that. But that's not something I want to do right now. I would go crazy if I were to do that right now. Like I think national parks hold such importance to me because they are an escape. And
Right.
so if they're not an escape but a constant reality, I don't think I would feel about them
Hmm.
like I do right now. I would love them, but
As a
no.
break.
Yeah, because I like the hustle and bustle of cities too.
Maybe have a
So,
summer home here and a winter home there, and otherwise
uh,
stay in the city.
ghee shakkar. More ghee shakkar. Like one
Agar
day,
ye hua, to I am
if I
your
can.
best friend for life, okay?
All right.
I'll come to that summer home and this winter home once in a while when I travel there.
But maybe one day, if I
Maybe
can
one day.
afford it.
Yes, why not? Have you ever gone on solo once, or is always squad, two of you all, three of you all kinds?
No, no. Most of the time it's solo, right? Like,
Oh, most of the time solo. That's quite a thing.
because, like I said, my best friend from India also moved at the same time, and we
Right.
found this. And then he got married. And then now he's a father. And so it's like
Oh,
obviously
you can't yank him along every time.
no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm very blessed to have lots of friends who are into this kind of things. So when I have the opportunity, I kind of visit with them, right? Like with my friend, I visit quite a few parks. Then I have a new friend here in New York over time who's
Mm-hmm.
also on a similar, has my same kind of mindset of visiting national parks. And maybe that's the foundation of our friendship, I guess. His name is Bartek.
That's perfect.
And yeah, like Alaska, Kobuk Valley, that's whom I went with. And
Okay.
like it's a different kind of thing, right? Like if I travel with one kind of friend, I travel in a certain way, more hotels outside park or whatever. When I travel with this kind of friend, it's more like, all right, let's rough it as much as we can.
So you have all styles.
Yeah, I sometimes go with my cousin. We just got back from Big Bend, where we
Mhm.
camped around Big Bend, and that was a different kind of experience.
Wow.
Yeah, and right now I'm part of I've found a very lovely community in New York City. We call ourselves the NYC Hikers.
Oh,
And now,
I like this WhatsApp community name.
yeah, but this is more relatively new. So because I had done a lot of solo when I couldn't go with either of my cousin or this
Right.
friend or that friend. But now I have this ready-made community, right? Like it's filled with people who are like you, right?
It's very
Um,
cool.
yeah, it doesn't need much convincing to find a travel partner for this community anymore. It's like, so how about going here? And then suddenly it doesn't be like,
I mean, I
I'm
mean,
in. It's like, what is happening here? I've never
yeah.
seen anything like that.
Yeah, and once in a while, if when a person gets lethargic and then someone
Yeah.
suggests, let's go here, the fear of missing out on that particular trail will pull you out of your lethargy as well. So these communities help.
Yeah. And this was brand new. This community blew up only in this 2024 year.
Oh.
Yeah, like there's this now she is a very good friend of mine. Her name is Susanna, and
Mm-hmm.
she one day she just decided like, I want to create a community where we can just travel all the time. And then she went and created WhatsApp group and then posted it on Instagram, and everybody found Instagram because she made some really beautiful reels as promotional video, and like 1,000 people joined the community. And now it's like,
Wow.
yeah, I know it's like every time you need a travel partner, you just find people.
It's perfect. Yes.
And they're all nice people.
It's very nice. Very, very like-minded, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Follow them on Instagram too. You'll see some really beautiful reels. NYC
Name again?
hikers. NYC hikers.
NYC hikers. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, I'll add a link to this in our show notes as well. So folks in and
Mhm.
around NYC, please hit this up.
Yeah. Yeah. Join us. Join us.
Yeah, more the merrier always.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. You said your last or the latest national park that you went to was Big Bend, right?
Yeah.
What kind of national park is Big Bend? A snowy one or a...
So Big Bend is kind of like three parks in one.
Okay.
It's like it's a mountain park.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because there's this mountain range called the Chisos Mountains. They are a volcanic range, not one of those tectonic mountains, but I think they formed through volcanic eruptions years ago, right? And this entire range is within the boundary of the national park. And so
Okay.
that's actually pretty. You have like mountain hikes and whatnot. But also, so the border between US and Mexico, for the
Mm-hmm.
most part through Texas, is along the Rio Grande River.
Okay.
And the Rio Grande River is basically the boundary of Big Bend National Park as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it creates this really huge canyons, right? So it's kind of like you have 1,400 feet walls on either side of the canyon, even though the river is so dammed that right now the water flow is not much, but
Okay. Okay.
over millions of years,
Mm.
it created this massive cliffs. And so it's like really crazy because you can actually stand in the middle of the river, and then it's like on your right foot will be in United States, and your left foot is technically in Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously you can't do much in Mexico because you have a 1,500-foot cliff to scale first,
Mm.
like a
Yeah.
huge wall. But yeah, that's like a beautiful part. And then in between these two, you have this. It's all part of this Chihuahuan Desert.
Okay.
And so it's like, so you have all of the sotol, which are like the different cactus and all
Oh,
of this wildlife. And
in winters as well, you can see all this, the cacti and all.
I mean, what is winter in Texas? It's very rare. Like,
Sorry.
I mean, I
Point.
don't know. It's funny because my body is so used to cold weather right now. I saw people there in puffy jackets and whatnot, and I
Oh,
was
dude, that's like how people from Bangalore will talk about Bombay folks with monkey caps and Chennai folks wearing monkey caps. It's like that.
yeah.
True, true.
But the best part about all this, start out of all of this, is that Big Bend is also one of the darkest skies you can find in the entire United States.
Ooh.
So because it's so far away from any civilization, I guess. And it's one of the darkest skies. So I think it's a bottle one, bottle two sky, something like that. It's a bottle scale is like a scale of how dark a place is.
Okay, okay.
And so it's like naked eye, you stare out, you see a dense cluster of the Milky Way. It's like just like that.
And wasn't there some meteorite showers around that
Uh,
place sometime in the last 2, 3 weeks or
yeah,
something?
yeah, but I didn't see any
Oh,
shower, but I saw a couple of meteors. That's it.
oh, they look so magical.
Unfortunately.
I love it, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like you don't need like a 30-second exposure on your DSLR to capture Milky Way. Just get off your tent and look up, and you'll see like, okay, what is a huge cluster?
Oh my God. I think I had my best view of the night sky when we were in Jordan. There was this place we had gone to in the middle of a desert. And I think that was that one and Spiti Valley. These two places
Uh,
were like for me the craziest, most beautiful. And I love seeing stars. I just love just staring up and I just like to see stars. That's it. And it's beautiful, my God. Oh
where?
man, Harsha, I
Yeah.
can totally get it. This is I have such trouble after the episode that I record, and I'm like, oh man, what do I do? How long a US trip do I need to cover like multiple of these, yeah?
Like again, 37 parks over 10 years. Last couple of years, it's gone up the number of times I'm visiting, but mostly because now, post-pandemic, you have the luxury of my company being very remote friendly,
Okay.
right? So it's like sometimes you're like, oh, I can get an Airbnb somewhere and work from there, and
Are you
then
working from glamping, WFG?
yeah, but you have to spread it out. Like
Yeah.
again, there are people who have completed all 63 national parks in 1 year, right? Like usually those kind of people are like either a couple that just got together recently, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll quit our job for a year,
Yeah.
get a van,
You
and
live
go all
only once,
63."
all YOLO mode, people will be in, and then
Yeah,
you've got to do that, yeah, right?
and I admire that. I admire
Yeah,
that
I do.
kind
I
of
do.
people as well. But like I said, for me, these are escape, right? Like I love city life. I love people. I do some theater in the city as well. So I can't just leave all of this and do like a huge long trip. Then it would lose out like
Yeah.
all the joy for me,
Yeah.
right? I need
Yeah.
that escape. So, and this was mostly because how long a trip do you need to cover all this? No, you don't need one long trip. You just need to make multiple trips. So that's the only way to do it, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
so you can appreciate.
That's true.
Yeah, if you're overwhelmed with like 15 national parks in one trip, you're not enjoying each park the way it's meant to be enjoyed with. Because the best part of trips is like you're coming back on a flight, or for the next few days, you're thinking about what all you saw in the park and replaying that. If you see 15 parks in one trip, which one are you going to pick
Yeah.
and replay, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Makes no
Very true.
sense
Very
to.
true. Very true. It'll all blur into one whole
Yeah.
dog kinds. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then we have not spoken about so many more. There are ones which have caves, the largest cave in the world, and all that. You have those.
Yeah.
I can do episode after episode after episode with you, man.
I'm well.
Yeah. Yeah, we will do that when you do the which is the Alaska one?
Gets to the gates of the Arctic.
Gates of the Arctic. Once you finish that,
Yeah.
no, then I'll call you for another one. We have to do round two. But there are so many more that we haven't spoken of. Walking
Yeah.
up the water in one of those canyons.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was in Zion. Oh yeah.
it's such a beautiful experience. I love doing these kind of things. Again, there was one that I had done like that in one of the Jordan ones. Again, Jordan is one country I have repeated 100 times on my podcast. I think I'm such a big fan. But I had done one of these between the canyons. You have a stream coming in to walk against the stream through the canyons up and all that. It's a beautiful experience, and the water is crystal clear. And I'm anyway a water person, and
You're a water baby.
I'm a 100% water. Throw me into any kind of water thing and I'll go and swim there. Crater lakes, if it is cold, also I'll go. I'm like, I don't care. I have to jump into it, kind of thing. Oh, wonderful, Harsha, man. It was so beautiful. You've told me so many, 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 many stories and so many, many that we couldn't speak, but I'm looking forward to seeing many of the pictures that you've clicked of all the national parks that you've been to. I'll definitely put them up on our Instagram page for our listeners to see.
Will do.
Thank you so much for your time. This was phenomenal. I hope you had a good time as well.
Yeah, I relived lots of stories in my head again. So I love it.
Vacations do that. I could see your face light up when you spoke about the Utah vacation that you did with your two friends, sitting and yapping and listening to the uncle giving you stories on the side on the guide along app.
Yeah.
Also, just out of curiosity, is this a free app or is it a paid one?
You have to buy the tour.
Okay.
I mean, but again, they put so much research into it, into writing the script. So
Oh, lovely, man.
I actually again, I have no relation whatsoever with the developers of this application, but I want it to be popular so that they can add more bundles. They don't cover every single national park, right?
Okay.
Because it takes money, investment, all of that. So the more people download that app and start using it and paying them, they'll have enough funds to add more tours.
So we'll do as much of PR for that, for the sake of your covering the rest of the 30 as well. So I will link up this on our in our show notes as well. And of course, I'll use it whenever I come next, to cover all these and to come to your summer home and winter home as well, Harsha. Let's manifest that to happen.
Yes, we shall.
Yes, we shall. All right. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Revati. I had fun too.
See ya then. Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Man, I have so much of FOMO issue after recording each episode on Misadventures of a Sneaker. And after this one with Harsha, my FOMO has actually reached unhealthily high levels. Well, leaving that aside, our guest Harsha has shared a bunch of photographs with us, which we'll upload on our Substack and Instagram page. So do head over there and check them out. We are called Misadventures of a Sneaker everywhere. Also, if you enjoyed listening to our episode, would you like to support our team by buying us a coffee? If yes, you can head over to our show notes and click on support to contribute any amount you'd like. It will be a huge morale booster for us. Thank you and see you in the next rocking episode. Bye-bye.